Welcome back, everybody, to the Success Partner Podcast. I am your host, Daya Naef, and today we have Dena Oberst in the studio with Gable, and I'm super excited to learn more about what she does. We have had a couple of brief conversations, but she's got her own success story journey to share, as well as how she helps other clients achieve their success. So, Dena, just introduce yourself and take it away.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Super excited. So yes, I've been in the sales and use tax industry for 30 years and specifically in public accounting for most of the career. But I did start Gable Tax Group 8 years ago. And we work primarily with e-commerce businesses and CPAs helping their clients with their sales tax compliance needs. It's essentially what we do in a nutshell at a very high level.
It's great. I know I come from a little bit of sales and tax. My ex was a tax collector for the city of New Orleans. So
Oh,
I remember learning about that. There was always somebody appointed to go to the Jazz Fest to make sure the vendors were remitting their taxes, and they had to kind of fight over whose job that was going to be.
yes, we do have a lot of entertainment clients as well that are at events and have to get special permits for sales tax. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool. A wide variety of clients. Who are your favorite ones to work with?
Honestly, my favorite clients at this stage of my career are the entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs are the ones that excite me the most because, they've put blood, sweat, and tears in forming their businesses. They're usually working really hard at getting the sales, and the actual running of the business is a little more difficult for them, right? The accounting, the back office, taxes. And so I really like working with the entrepreneurs. I feel like I can help them the most. They don't really have access to the big four accounting firms and other tax advisors, which is usually where people like myself sit in the big firms. And so I really enjoy hearing what they're doing, how can I help so that they can be profitable, and giving them advice. So those are my favorite. Now, all my clients are my favorite. And if you're not my favorite, you're not going to be my client very long because I do get rid of bad clients. I will not lie. At this stage of my life, I do not keep bad clients. But yeah, those are my favorite, especially the women entrepreneurs. I mean,
Yeah, that
special
is it.
place in my heart.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. We have an uphill battle on a lot of fronts, but it's always a pivot in your business when you start to be able to select your clients instead of having to take pretty much anybody that's referred to you. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, I think coming from working in the accounting field most of my career and being told by other partners, you have to stay on this account. You cannot get rid of them, even if they're not profitable, even if they're mean, So I vowed that when I started Gable Tax Group, that I was always going to be people first. I've always been people first, but I have more control now of having that happen. So if we have a bad client, I'm quick to try to make that adjustment, have the talk, and then move on and find them another colleague to work with. So, yeah, I definitely love being able to make decisions on my own without having someone tell me what to do and how to do it. I know that sounds terrible. I think people say if you're an entrepreneur, you're unemployable. I don't think I'm unemployable. I think I'm just over it. I feel like I've been in the business so long that I know how to do it. I created a sales tax business for other companies my whole career. So 8 years ago, when I decided to take the leap, I was very focused on who my target client was, who were the type of people I wanted to hire, what kind of values, and what our mission statement was. And I think by doing that hard work in the beginning really helps lay the foundation, because I think when you're first starting out, it's all about sales, right? This is the thing about my entrepreneur clients. Sales fixes everything. Yes, sales help, but if you have no infrastructure, it'll implode. So if you have too many sales and too much work and not enough infrastructure. So I think it was really kind of key in the beginning to set up the mission and the values and hire accordingly so that we have a really stable foundation for Gable.
And you shared with me those values. That makes a nice acronym. Will you share that with us?
Yes, sure. So it's I care. And, again, when you start a business and people say, do a mission statement and core values, you're like, well, they're really my core values. So it's all about integrity and being considerate of others and, of course, accountable and reliable. And then my favorite word of all of them is efficient. So you cannot make money at anything if you're not efficient at it. So you could spend a lot of time doing a task, and if you can't price it and make it profitable, you're not in business. So yeah, we do our evaluations on our iCare principles. We try to hire based off of these. And of course, we operate with those in mind during our journey here at Gable.
Wonderful. Where is the journey taking you in the future?
It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked because we just started our 8th year in March. March 1st is our anniversary. And every year I like to take on a new project. So last year it was about efficiencies. In prior years, we've done some other targeted. This year is strictly helping the e-commerce clients through really trying to identify the people that really need help. In the past, you kind of just take on anybody and everybody. But I think really the part where we can help the most is, again, these business owners that are selling products online and have no resources. So it's definitely our target from a client perspective. But internally, it's all about professional development because that really is what resonates with me. I love to mentor people. The goal is to help my professionals reach their fullest potential. So I'm constantly thinking about what to implement in order to drive that success. So we did like a quarterly book club. I have a couple over there. We read some books together, like The One Thing, The Deep Work, Atomic Habits. And I think just really trying to get the team some education around it so that we're all kind of rowing the boat in the same direction. I'm sure you've heard that before. The worst thing is having a disengaged employee. Sprinkle a little fun. So really it is always about how to help the professionals reach their fullest potential. So we're rolling out some training programs this year that are more personal in nature and not necessarily work focused so that they can have some skills. These are usually something that sits in the big accounting firms that they offer. Being a smaller firm, I think it's unusual to invest so heavily, but we have 30 employees right now. And I feel like that's just the tipping point where you really need to have more of the education because you don't have a small team anymore, right? It's a bigger group of people. They need to learn things faster and quicker, and you have to disseminate the information and implement AI. So this is the year of AI.
It is.
Not to replace people, but to make their jobs easier. This is never about replacing the people. This isn't about taking the white glove approach from our service, because I think that's what we offer that's different. But it's how do I help them do more with less time? Because it's all about balance. And I really wanted to have a good work-life balance, if there's even such a word, but within the organization, because as a young professional, I work nights and weekends, and I didn't want that for my team at Gable. So how do we work more efficiently? So anyway, we are rolling out some AI tools. They're developing some or co-sourcing with some others. So it'll be interesting. We'll see where we land at the end of the year.
I love that, being a tech forward and tech partnering type of firm, because it does do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, leaving the professionals to use their professional skill set, their critical thinking, their creativity, the being one-on-one and interfacing with the clients and really understanding that. I love hearing that. So yeah, thank you for sharing. So when you say, just so that my listeners know that if this is them, so when you say e-commerce, can you give us some additional examples of who you're looking to work with?
Sure. Well, really, could be anyone that has a sales tax question. We are a helping family here. We love to help. But the e-commerce businesses are generally business owners that sell products throughout the U.S. They usually use Shopify. It tends to be a platform most commonly used. Most people would think, well, that's an Amazon seller. Yes, a lot of our clients sell on Amazon as well, but traditionally they sell also on their website. So yes, they may be on Amazon to reach the masses, but there's less profit in that. So they want to sell on their own website and draw their own following through social media. So what does that mean? Well, it also means that if they have, for example, 200 transactions in the state of Illinois, they have to collect and remit tax. So they have to get registered in the state. So these states have really low thresholds for e-commerce businesses, or what we call remote businesses, in terms of when they have to register in the state, collect and remit tax. And it's a monthly problem. It's a monthly obligation. So it adds a lot of administrative effort to a business owner that sells products all over the US that doesn't have the infrastructure for it. So yes, we help them determine where they need to collect and help them file their monthly tax returns. And that helps increase their profit, because if the state catches them and they haven't done it, they have to pay out of pocket themselves, and they didn't collect it from their customer. So e-commerce companies, people that sell shoes, clothing, handbags, supplements, you name it. We have very interesting clients that sell things I would never think would sell, but they do. So I love hearing those stories. Like, what made you ever think that somebody wanted that? And you sell them like hotcakes,
I love seeing what takes off and what doesn't. And it's interesting how quickly sales tax stuff changes in like the local jurisdictions. Like it's and people are like, wait, what? Who knew about that? And so I'm glad that you are on top of that.
Well, especially you in your state. So Louisiana sales tax is very different than most of the other states, right? Because you have the parish level tax, they have separate tax returns. There are a couple states that have locally administered, and you just happen to be in one of them. So in California, it's state administered, it's just one tax return, but it's a more complicated return because of the district taxes and city and county taxes. But yes, it does vary by state. And actually, the taxability varies by state. Shoes and clothing are exempt in some states. So it actually adds another level of complexity for a business owner. Not only do they have to figure out the customer ship to state and the tax rate, but whether or not they have to even collect tax. Because you don't want to overcharge tax. That's a whole other legal problem
Mm,
there. But
yeah.
but yes. Yeah, that's my favorite. I really like working with the entrepreneurs.
I love that. I love that. I love that you revel in the complicated stuff.
And I think it helps too because I do a lot of networking, as you know, that's how we met. So I do a lot of networking so that I have resources to bring to these entrepreneurs because they may have come to me through a CPA, but maybe they need a patent attorney or maybe they need some labor law or something else. And so I feel like this is what a wonderful opportunity for me to give back to them. Say, well, I could give you a CPA, I can get you a bookkeeper, I can help you with Canadian tax, and then I refer them to colleagues. So I think the networking is really important for a business owner to do, even like myself, to expand your network and bring answers to the questions that our clients have. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We often find each other teaming on projects or working with the same client at the same time because it's not, no one is a one size fits all. And so we all always have to collaborate and more minds and more experience levels is better exponentially for the people that we serve.
Exactly. I mean, even in sales tax, right? There are some people that like to work in the telecom industry or the hotel and occupancy area, which I've done over my career. But I think once I figured out exactly the type of client I want to work with, I refer those to friends now. So I have colleagues that specialize in these other areas or the cannabis. And so I will refer them out to colleagues. Fuel tax, there's a bunch of different tax types. I figure if we can just stay laser focused on where we provide the best support, it's just a lot easier to provide the best because we see hundreds of clients in this space and we have 300 plus clients in the e-commerce space. So we can use what we learn from our clients to help the other clients, right?
Yeah, definitely
Kind of nice
catching
to
the
specialize.
yeah, and catching the trends and yeah, same. Like
Absolutely.
I work with firms all over the country and of different sizes and to catch the trends that are happening with the bigger firms to trickle down to the smaller firms. And it is that sourcing of information from all these sources is great. And of course the networking. So, being in provisors, it's like going to a mastermind meeting in addition to a networking meeting when we go there for our meetings. So awesome. Well, how do people find you?
So you can find me on the internet, obviously, at gabletaxgroup.com. You have a direct access to my calendar there as well. You can schedule a free consultation. We do not charge by the hour on the phone. You can call anytime with any question. Obviously, if it requires tax research or something like that, then we would do an engagement letter and charge for our services. But at this point, we are available to chit chat about what they're doing, what kind of questions they have, and I can provide some free guidance. And we're located in Pasadena, California, but we are a nationwide firm with 30 people kind of scattered throughout the country. And we work with international clients. I was going to tell you that. The best thing about e-commerce businesses is they're usually internationally based. They're in Australia, New Zealand, and Ireland. I have a client in Ireland and Canada and South America. So sales tax actually impacts anyone that sells goods in the US. So like I said, I'm really excited about the e-commerce because I really get to talk to a bunch of people that have created some product all over the world, and it's super great. So I'm very flexible in terms of what time of the day I take calls from 6 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night to make sure I can accommodate them.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here, but maybe not always.
Well, I don't have any small children, so I have like an advantage over most. So, I can take calls and not worry about all that.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Success Partner Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Daya Naef, and Dena Oberst has been with Gable, has been our guest today. So please like, subscribe, and stay tuned.
Thank you.